Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Sacred Femme Alchemy podcast. And it has been a while since I created another episode or did another episode just because so much has been happening in my life and I'm trying to figure out how do I want to do these podcast episodes. And so many of you have been DMing me saying you missed these episodes, even if it's just a check-in. And so I decided to create one off of and just create it off of the momentum of the summer solstice. Summer solstice is an opportunity for us to really expand into a lot of the things that we've been seeding, a lot of the things that we've been planting. And so it's our opportunity to just be out and about and shine and just live in the glory of all of this and be inner work that we've been doing. And so yesterday I had this beautiful opportunity to celebrate the summer solstice with a dear friend who decided to create this space for different types of people to dance. And it wasn't ecstatic dancing. It came from this movement that she used to do in New York with another friend of hers who's also from New York, where your admission is submitting a playlist. And so it becomes this collective playlist where everyone just goes and dances. There's no directions, there's no prompts of how to move your body. It's not choreography. It's just really tuning into the essence of how does your body want to move. And when I was doing my tantra training in Tulum, we would dance every single day. It's one of the best ways to just tap into feminine embodiment practices and just really move and connect to that energy inside of you. And nowadays, I haven't been practicing that. I've just been doing really masculine practices of like my kriyas, but then also doing different Taoist practices. But for me, it was just something that I really wanted to do to support my beautiful friend, be in community with other people who want to move their body as well, and just get inspiration from new music. And so it was beautiful to sometimes I think when you go into these different scenes, whether you're out like in a club or just whatever, you're doing these performative dances of getting attention or I don't know, it's like a mating call, right? But there's this beautiful practice of just connecting to how does my body want to move? How does my body want to feel in its pleasure, moving its arm a certain way, connecting to the music, connecting to the energy of the music, the rhythm of the music, connecting to the collective. Although I will say it wasn't really a collective type of communal dance because people weren't doing eye gazing at each other, which is something that I was used to. And so I just started like looking at people and dancing with them, not necessarily marrying them, but just honoring, recognizing like, wow, your spirit is moving to like we're singing and moving and dancing to the same song sheet, but we have different expressions of that based off of our energy. And so it was just this really beautiful practice to honor different human beings that were in front of me. And so the opportunity to say yes and just move my body, I was like, fuck yes, I'm gonna do that. So that's like a long-winded say of my experience of that. But I wanted to hop on here because I have a birthday coming up. I have a solar return coming up. And to me, it is a very big one because it is the last year of my 30s. I know so many of you are like, oh my God, she does not look like she's about to turn 39. And it's not only just because I'm Asian. What's that saying? Asian don't raisin. And I mentioned it before. I haven't drank in 14 years, like 14 and a half years. That is a big contributor to it. But I was talking to my partner and I was saying to him, he told me, he said, you feel like your turn. I think of you as 33. Like some people, when they look at me, they think I'm 24 and they think I'm 33. It's like always between that range of 24 to 33. But when they hear that I'm older, it's, oh. And I said, what do 39-year-olds act like? What do they act like? And I just remember being a little kid thinking, oh my God, they're just so old. And I think it was when I turned 34 that I started to freak out because I said, oh my God, I'm on the cusp of being in my late 30s or I'm in my mid 30s. And that means I'm going to be my late 30s, not my early 30s. And so this episode is just really talking about all my tips for just staying young. There is no sense of purpose. I think for me, when I'm thinking about the direction of my podcast, of my business, and the content that I want to create, it's just sharing the everyday spiritual practices that I do in order to live. Like all the different things that I'm finding, all the different esoteric practices that I'm doing that really have helped me in my life today. And that's pretty much it. It's like, I know I've gone down into different types of niches. And for me, what feels very true is just this, and I feel like this is so trope, like this authentic expression of, okay, this is just me. This is how I live everyday life. And that's pretty much it. That's it. Okay. So these are the tips. Okay. So I was telling Ben, I said, okay, obviously, no drinking. Like, I got sober in 2011 New York. Best decision of my life. Best gift I've given myself to my life. I was at a point where, you know what? I am going to write this all down because otherwise I'm going to forget. Okay. So, one, getting sober. Okay. Two, happy, healthy home life. Okay. Three, working with Kundalini energy. This is in no particular order. This is just the stuff that's coming into my head. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and then like other products too. I'll mention that. I should get sponsored for that. Anyways, okay. Yes. Yeah, those are the three. Getting sober, happy, healthy home life, Kundalini energy. Thought there was five. Anyway, it'll probably come up in my head as I start this episode. But getting sober, 2011, I was 24 years old. And I just knew I just had issues with drinking. It was because I was not connected to my body. And you can go back to a couple, like my earlier episodes when I described like my whole sober journey. But that was the best decision because not only did it help me understand the mental aspects of why I chose to drink, and the reason why a lot of people just choose to drink, honestly, this is my opinion, is because they don't have the capacity to deal with their emotional challenges, to deal with their obstacles in life. There's no outlet. Maybe they grew up in dysfunctional homes where they didn't know how to regulate their own nervous system. There was a lot of trauma growing up, and trauma is basically because so many people can have the same experience but then respond to it differently. Just as how you have children with different experiences but growing up in the same household. It's just your inability to process something that hasn't been able to be fully processed. And so your nervous system hasn't had the capacity to hold that experience. And for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, this journey of really connecting to what is a spiritual way of being. It wasn't a pill that people took to get sober and all of a sudden not have this desire to drink because it's always going to be there. But it's like, surprise, it's about all those ways that you want to anesthetize and disassociate from yourself, whether it be shopping, using money, whether it be relationships, whether it be like being a workaholic, like all of those different things, whether it can be scrolling, it's like whatever it is to take you out of that present moment is doesn't even have to be about drinking. It's just like noticing those things. And so being on that journey for the last 14 and a half years really taught me the ability to understand what are emotions. So basically, I parented myself as an adult, obviously with like different help, getting mental, working with different therapists, working with different coaches. And so that really just opened this opportunity to get into this realm of what does it mean to connect with something beyond myself. And mind you, I grew up in a religious family. I grew up Catholic. Not we were not like super religious, but we did go to church every Sunday. And I just loved connecting to God. I loved connecting to Jesus. I love the rituals, this aspect of connecting to something greater than yourself, this aspect of singing. And so it's so interesting now when I think about my spiritual journey, how a lot of the practices that I do now, which involve mantra and like movement and using my voice and singing. It's just, and like meditation, all these things use the same type of like structure, but in different ways, in different languages. And it's all about connecting you to a higher consciousness. whether you call it God, where you call it Mother Earth, Father Sky, Gaia, like Devi, goddess, like whatever it is, spirit, source, like whatever it is to you. And so I honestly attribute it to that because it allowed me to tap into a new tool that was beyond my ego. And then I started understanding, okay, what are my subconscious thoughts? What are the emotional blocks that I'm experiencing? And so it like widened even more. So that was, I would say, the first gate of my spiritual awakening. And then I was just like sharing it with other people. So that's fun, getting sober. It's like, don't put shit into your body, try and eat healthy. And honestly, it's like now there's this whole wave of what is it, sober parties and non-sober drinking, all those things. I know there are influencers that are getting sponsored by non-alcoholic beverages to throw parties. Oh my God, where were you 14 and a half years ago? And it's just become so popular in mainstream spirituality, and those scenes of just only using plant medicine and not man-made type of drugs. So, anyways, that's number one. If you're interested, if you're sober curious, it's like obviously some people use it as a crutch for social anxiety as a lubricant, but the best fucking superpower is to be sober in a room of people that need drugs and alcohol to experience a different type of consciousness, to experience a different way of being. It's what if you were able to activate an archetype without any drugs? And it's like all these ancient tools and technologies are available to you to mimic the effects of drugs. So why not try it? And you don't feel hungover and you don't feel like yeah, you just don't feel like shit in the morning. You remember things like I was a blackout drinker and I don't have to apologize in the morning. And I can take ownership of my responsibility. It's like sometimes people want to drink because they want to say the things that they can't say. But what's more powerful and bold is being able to say the things that you truly want to fucking say without any like enhancements, right? Completely uninhibited, just you, the rawness, the realness, all of that stuff. So that's my 2 cents on getting sober. And people always do, what is it? Is it dry January? I don't know. I'm like so out of touch with that. Whatever month that is, it's like, why don't you just try a week or why don't you just try doing a party where you're not drinking and it's like, really look at the feelings of why are you nervous? Is it because you're worried that the friends that you're hanging out with are just party friends and they're not going to be your friend because they don't like you when you're sober? Then maybe they shouldn't be your friends. Maybe you shouldn't hang out with them. Find some new friends. Do things out in the daytime. Don't be a vampire. But you can still be a vampire. I will tell you this. I have gone to birthday parties. I have gone to Vegas completely sober, and I am the one outlasting people because my energy is so pure. My energy is pure. I'm not relying on anything external, and I can outlast and outparty people. Yeah, people are always surprised. They're like, why do you have so much energy? Because I don't put any shit in my body. So, yes. I think that's a big factor of me looking the way I do. Okay. And then number two, happy, healthy home life. If your relationships are the biggest contributor of your problems, then you need to find new relationships or find new ways of dealing. And honestly, I could say for myself, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my God, when I think about all the other relationships and I'm talking about romantic relationships right now, it's like obviously family, if you're young, you can't escape it if you're young. And so it's as an adult, you become responsible for the people that you surround yourself with, what kind of friendships you want to put in your, back pocket of people you want to constantly be in connection with. And you have the opportunity to say, okay, this person drains me, or I don't really like how the way this person talks to me. So I'm going to set boundaries. And if they don't respect that, then sometimes we need to part ways, right? And so for me, I was thinking about, oh my gosh, like I love that I am in a new space now. I have a loving partner. I'm not worried about if they're cheating on me. They have never cussed at me, like all of these different things. And I live with my beautiful cats right next to me, although he caused me a heart attack the other day when he ran away from me. in the backyard, and I like couldn't chase after him. I was very freaked out. That's the only time that I've had a heart attack with him. But I was thinking about that of just like how your home is a respite. You ever know how, or maybe when you were younger, you had roommates, whether it was a college roommate. It's like, ugh, we're not roommates by choice, but I have to live with you. And I just, maybe you party, like maybe your roommate partied too much and you just don't like that or whatever it was. And you just didn't feel like you wanted to go home, or maybe just they weren't doing their share of the chores and you would just get really irritated and have that energy and just that resentment of, I don't feel like my home is a home. Your home should feel like an oasis. Your home should feel like a respite to you. And if it doesn't give you that energy of, I can finally come home, put everything away, put all of like the little pieces of the energy that I'm putting out there and all these different like models of like roles I'm gonna play out in the world and just fucking be me. That's how your home should feel like, this sanctuary, this beautiful sanctuary and space that you're creating. And so if your home life, if your relationships don't offer you peace, then opt out. Just opt out, right? It's like, there's no time to waste. It's like you just don't need to deal with that. And it's not necessarily this comes from, okay, if nothing in my life is working, I'm just going to cut everything off. There has to be this balance of knowing what your non-negotiables are for you, whether you choose to have relationships for other people. Obviously, you have to tolerate people, accept people for who they are. But you get to understand and clarify with yourself of what is okay with you, what is not okay with you, and does that fit into your life, and do they expand your life in a different way of giving you a new perspective of really uplifting you and helping you grow, or are they just bringing you down to a certain level where you can't expand and grow beyond the person you are because they need you to be who you are. So for example, it's sometimes you have friends who kind of want to see you in this, and I've had this with mentorships too, where it's like you were the person that they saved. And so the minute that all of a sudden you become quote unquote healed, or you heal beyond a certain lesson, and you don't have that pattern anymore, it creates this different type of dynamic where they don't know how to handle that. And I've had opportunities, or not opportunities, but it's like I've had experiences where people have been jealous of just me experiencing more abundance into my life and them still being in the status quo. And so people grow apart, those relationships don't work. And sometimes you try to make it work, but then there's just a lot of jealousy and resentment, and they just like undercut you or bring you down. And so it's like you want to be with people who are really going to lift you up, who see that potential in you, who honor you, but also call you out on your shit in a really loving way. And if they want you to stay the same sort of energy or pattern that they're in, then you know that's a relationship you have to walk away from. So that's just an example. But I just remember it was just such a stark contrast. I was thinking about my partner now and how we're very open, we're very loving. The only thing that I fight with him about is just he just kisses me a lot. I know that's a stupid thing to get irritated with, but sometimes I'm a cat and I'm just like, "Ugh, get off me. You're such a golden retriever slobbering all over my face and wants to get super close to me. I'm like, ugh. But that's just how I am. I'm like, even wearing black right now, I'm like, I'm doing different eye makeup today. It's like my smoky eye. But anyways, it's just I have this beautiful relationship right now to like other men who just they just were not around. They were just not around. And I just would constantly be like, ugh, in my anxiety. And that's just not the place that I want to be. That's not the type of woman I want to be, with just men who don't give me the same energy, men who just aren't loving up on me. It's because I love myself so much. It's like the minute that someone is, I feel their energy just not fully invested, I'm not into that, bro. Bye. And yeah, but it's like we all go through what we go through of all the lessons that we need to learn. And it was so interesting because someone asked me last week, they said, how did you find your partner? What did you do to attract your partner? Very simple answer. A lot of fucking inner work and relationships that didn't work out. Like sometimes we want to bypass all of those things in order to get to that yummy nectar. but there's no way to collapse timelines with healing. There just is not. There is not, because it's going to come back. You're going to repeat that pattern. You're going to repeat that karma. And so, yeah, so yes. So it's like my relationships in my life do cause me stress, but if they do, I always make it a point to have a conversation. Last week, it feels like forever ago. Last week, I had a little tiff with my mother and we weren't speaking for a couple weeks. No, was it a couple weeks? Yeah, it was like over a week. And I knew she was not going to talk to me because she's very stubborn. And I just don't like living my life in a way where my relationships aren't peaceful. I like to have conversations. I love clarity. I love transparency. And I learned this from one of my old leaders in corporate, where he would say, clear is kind. Clear is kind. And that is having integrity, right? It's share your truth, like share and say your truth and don't circumvent it. Like it wastes everybody's time. I don't like reading between the lines. It's like the more clear you are, the better our relationship is. It's trusting I'm not going to resent you for the outcome. I'm going to resent you more for omission of truth. And so I had this conversation where I was like, I think we should talk. Took her out to coffee. We had all these conversations because eventually it came down to boundaries, not being able to understand each other. And I thought, oh my God, we should, in my head, I was thinking we should make this a podcast episode of just like finding the middle ground, finding the middle way, bridging the gap, all those things from me being an immigrant daughter, my mom being an immigrant, like all of these different things. And I think some people could benefit from having a conversation like that, or just even having conversations with their parents, even if it feels awkward, even if your parent doesn't understand what boundaries are. But anyways, for me, it's if I see something go awry, I am going to want to talk about it. I'm going to want to share my feelings about it. Granted, that was not the case before, but it was because of doing all this work and having tools and having the courage to say, yes, what I have to say is important and it's important for me to repair the relationship. And I just got sick of blaming my parents for all the things that they didn't give me. And I see that a lot happen. It's, oh, my parents didn't give me this, my parents didn't give me that. It's like, you're an adult now. You have the money and resources to find tools to help you be better and communicate better. It's like the minute that it's like, I talk a lot about inner parenting, connecting to your inner mother. But what that really means is you let your parents off the hook for being parents, for being that parent to you. That idealistic mindset perspective of, oh my gosh, I'm mad at my mom because they didn't do this, or mad at my dad because they didn't do that. Like now as an adult, it's like they're not your parents anymore. You moved out. You moved out, you have a life of your own. And so what does it look like to be that sovereign being that you're like so craving to be, and parenting yourself? And so that is the embodiment of that. And that's something that I've learned recently is, oh, wow, what if I just stopped expecting my mom to be the ideal parent? Like, what if I just started accepting her for her being who she is? And oh, then she's just not my parent, but she's more of a friend. And so it becomes this like different part of your life where you start to have these realizations, and then you get to have better relationships with them because you get to become the adult. And so that is something that I've learned. I can dive deeper into that into a different episode, but right now this is just like the top lessons that I've been learning. But that was like an initiation of being in the mother archetype, moving from maiden to mother, not in the physical sense of birthing a child, but birthing me from being a maiden to an actual adult. And what does it mean to truly embody the inner mother to myself? Okay, that's enough on relationships, but you get the idea. So if anything causes you stress, if you're just like, oh my, think about all the top issues and challenges in your life and what, if any of them causes you stress, then it's like time to look and evaluate and reassess that relationship. So that is your homework. And number three, okay, number three is Kundalini energy. And I would say my Shakti was activated when I went to Shasta. Was it 2022? Yeah, it was 2022. I came back and I understood the sense of energy when I was living in Oakland at the time, and I came back from Shasta. And mind you, this is like an unpopular opinion. I'm not a fan of Shasta. So many of my friends are. I have a couple friends that live there. It's just not my vibe. I can't explain it. It was like, I don't want to go back. But that's just me. People are gonna be like, oh my God, what? Why? That's just me. Didn't think it was that amazing. And yes, I went to all the sacred sites, but that's just me. Okay. Anyways, different places speak to different people. And so I remember coming back just being so fascinated with trees, like wanting to hug trees, feeling the energy, like seeing the energy of trees and just seeing it with a different lens of like how immaculate and beautiful these trees were. And so I just felt, oh, this is different. And I remember driving back from Shasta to Oakland, and I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of like darkness here. Felt like hell, like just lots of like horrific, toxic stuff happening. And that was the first time where I just got to really feel and understand it. And so that propelled me more into, oh, working with Shakti, what does that look like? And we were doing Kundalini Kriyas. We were activated by these different sites just by being there. Like people were doing light language. I was like, oh my God, I got into like galactic spirituality, learning about star seeds, learning about different planets and like people being incarnated into bodies from different galaxies and different entities and all these different things. I was like, whoa, okay, let me go back to Earth. And then that propelled like my desire to understand or just work in the realms of like traditional tantra and then doing a course on that, a certification on that, and learning about mantra and doing japa meditation, working with the different Mahavidyas and working with yantras and learning all of these different practices. And it really connected me to nature, to elements even more. And so I really dialed into understanding it at like more of a mental concept, like theoretical concept. And then slowly over time, I was like, oh, I want to do more. I want to practice more Kundalini yoga. And I was exposed to Kundalini yoga, I think it was in 2013 when Gabby Bernstein was like so into it and she got her certification. She would introduce different types of Kriyas into her practices and different breath work. And so that's when I really got into it. And it was always just a practice that was like there as a back pocket, but something that I never fully dove into. And I started to see the difference between traditional Tantra and Kundalini yoga. So, traditional Tantra has different types of mantra based off of Sanskrit, and Kundalini yoga, it's based off of Sikhism. So, a lot of their mantras are Gurmukh language, and it is a form of Tantra in the fact that you are working with Kundalini energy, which is it's the dormant coiled energy that lives at the base of the spine. And as it starts to awaken and move through the different chakras of your system, the like the energetic wheels in your body, then that healing energy starts to expand your mind from being victim to victor to victorious. That's the best way I could describe it. And I know it sounds like lofty, especially for the type of person that's always believed in mental processing of like just talk therapy. But then now I see real like people are understanding, oh my gosh, the way that I talk to myself, the way that I think about certain things, those form these emotions that I have that get stuck in my body. And in order to get stuck, I have to move. I can actually do different types of practices. And there is like trauma release exercises, TRE, and you can do that. So everything is like coming back into body, which is a divine feminine way of spirituality. And so that's where I am today of like really honoring this path of the divine feminine, using the body as a gateway to spirituality. And so I'm so grateful for having these masculine practices of understanding from the gate of getting sober and like doing a lot of written practices and journaling and reflecting and like calling myself out on a very conscious level. But then all of a sudden realizing like, oh, I want more. I want to expand more. I'm so thirsty. I really just can't feel satiated in my own spiritual journey. What else is there? And so it's just like diving deeper into these other practices, these ancient technologies that have been done for thousands and thousands of years. And so being able to have the opportunity to practice these things and integrate it into my life as a modern day human being that lives in the realm of like technology that is in a corporate job. I think is just a testament to seeing, okay, do these practices really work? And I can say that being on this path, working with Kundalini energy in my own different ways, has really helped me understand and connect to who I am on a whole different level. And I notice the difference when I feel so connected into myself. And so I want to back up a little bit and say from that Kundalini yoga journey and being able to practice different kriyas, which are different types of asanas, different body postures, different mudras, different hand movements, the inner gaze, whether it's looking at your nose, whether it's looking at your third eye, whether it's looking at your chin, like that, and also pranayama practices, breath practices, has allowed me to connect to the subconscious patterning in my head. And when I connect to that by doing all these different things, it's like very formulaic. Then what it does, it releases more of that. Like when you rewire your subconscious thoughts, then it rewires your emotional thoughts. And when you're rewiring your emotional thoughts and getting different download and filtering it with like more love, think of mantras as like affirmations, right? But just in a different language. So it's, oh, okay, I can get behind this. Sometimes when you say an affirmation in your own language, it doesn't really hit because there's that tint of disbelief. But for me, it's if I'm saying in some language that I don't even know, but I understand the essence of it, then okay, I can say it and I can practice it, I can listen to it all day. And so that gets locked and imprinted into your subconscious. And so as a result, you start to have a different emotional feelings. And you're just like, wow, this is so weird. I'm not even talking about it, but I feel different. And so it's like being able to understand that, then you start to expand more. Then it's like, that's the reason why they do 40, 90, 120, 1,000 days of sadhnas. You can do it like that because it actually breaks the bad habit, locks it into your memory, and then you can actually master it. Some people do a certain kriya every single day because that's the one they want to focus on. And so for me, and I've shared about it on my social, that the one that I'm focusing on right now is Sudarshan Chakra Kriya. And that was one of the kriyas that we were assigned to do in my Kundalini yoga practice. And what it does is helps really clear out the subconscious garbage in your mind, because sometimes you can do a lot of inner work and you're like, none of this shit is working. But it's if you're not purifying, if you're not taking out the garbage, then how can you fill the receptacle, the vessel, the mind with like new stuff that you want? You're blocked. You're blocked because of your thoughts. Because if your thoughts are different, then your actions are different. But there's some people might say act your way into right thinking. You can act a certain way, but then if it's like alignment of mind, body, and soul. That's my thing. And the easiest thing is like working on the mind. That's mental. We're talking all day, we're chattering. It's like very masculine to like just put a lot of emphasis on talking and all of that stuff. And so that's what I would say is the first thing. It's okay, if you want a whole mind, body, spirit alignment, if you want to start working and being on a spiritual path, then just start to explore. Start to explore with sharing your feelings more, journaling, all of those things. And maybe for you, you're just like, duh, I already know that, Lisa. But it's always nice to go back to the basics of like spirituality 101 and just have a journal and understand what the weather report is for you internally. So you don't shit on other people. Or when you do, you have an explanation. It's like, sorry, I'm having a tough time right now. This is why. And stop bringing awareness to your projections. That's a way to clean your side of the street. But yeah, so and so as you start to work more and more with different energies and different forms, and mind you, like all of it is powered by this energy, which is your life force, which is known as Shakti, right? Kundalini is a form in like Hinduism that they call that energy. When you think about Taoist practices, that is your chi. And being on those practices, I was like, okay, I want more, I want more, I want more. I'm working on the mind, very masculine, meditating, Shiva consciousness, all of those things. But this energy wants to be expressed. And so for me, I was like able to create this container of a lot of discipline, set in a lot of sadhana. And then I did Tao Tantric arts and did tantric feminine practices that really allowed me to connect to the expression of what does Shakti look like in my body, and building my vessel, building the capacity to hold that energy so that it can be expressed in a physical level. And I used to go to Kundalini activation process type of events where they would move that energy, and I would think, oh my God, how am I going to move this energy myself? It's outside of me. Someone else can do Shaktipat and I can't connect to the own, like my own Shakti. Like I understand that there are other people that can transfer energy to you and activate something in you, but there's something more powerful in you being able to activate your own Shakti, because that is your own life force. No one can tell you how to, what it likes. Like everyone's Shakti is so unique. Like for me, I learned that my Shakti loves purring. She loves sound. She loves snapping. Like she's very playful. She's very funny. She can be very feisty and like very sensual and very sexual too. But it's like you can't have other people define your Shakti for you, because you have to understand that it is like an inner type of journey and working with it. And I'm noticing the difference when I do these Taoists, when they do these feminine practices, that it's a very soft way of working with my own Shakti, with my own life force, as opposed to Kundalini yoga or those different types of Kriyas where you're forcing and coaxing that energy to come out. But I've learned over time, Shakti is feminine. Shakti is, it needs to be worshipped rather than forced out of you, and heal me now type of thing. It can't be commanded. And that's like a woman. Think of a cat also, right? It's like you can't force a cat to be pet. The cat will come to you when it's ready, when it's time, when you've been able to cultivate your own inner fire of doing these disciplined practices. And so that's why I love my journey of being able to understand, okay, like sometimes I wish I did more feminine practices first. And it's, girl, you wouldn't have been able to understand that. And so it's like everyone has their own different ways of connecting to that body and connecting to their own feminine spirituality. Mine just happened to be very different. Maybe yours is the same. Would love to hear how yours happened to unfold, but that is just what happened for me. And because like when I came back from Tulum, I learned all these different practices of working with how to circulate that energy. It's also known as sublimating that energy. And so it's basically like activating your life force, your sensual energy, your creative energy, because it does bring birth about new ideas, even people on this planet, and being able to circulate it and give it to higher power, give it to God for spiritual purposes. That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. And it's one of the most powerful, potent, energetic practices that you can have of working with your Kundalini energy. And you will notice that when you see people that work with their Kundalini energy, when they're working with their Shakti, when they're connecting to their Shakti almost on a daily basis, there's something very magnetic and radiant about them that you can't put your finger on. And people will start to notice because you are attracting so many people. I will go out and I will see so many people looking in a different way. And I'm just like, oh, this is very interesting. Or people will tell me that. And this is not like a humble brag or anything like that. It's just to show you how potent these practices are. And I notice the difference of how I am before at this point in my life to where I am now. And there's just like, I'm able to express my voice in a very clear way. I'm unafraid to be myself. And it's because I've been working a lot with so many different Kriyas, so many different sadhanas, doing a lot of like inner mental work as well, and working with my body that has allowed me to connect more deeply back into my truth. And there's a lot of people, and it's like sometimes people think the point is like, oh, what's my dharma? What's my purpose in life? And it's like the purpose in life that I found at this point is just to be you. That's it. And so as I think about the journey of my podcasting, the journey of my business, and the journey of the content that I want to share, it's just sharing more of me. And that's pretty much it. Applying these spiritual practices. And my mentor was asking me today, how would you describe your practice of working with Kundalini, of like connecting to your practice of connecting to Shakti, worshiping Shakti? And I said to her, in a very playful, curious way, I said, Shakti just feels to me like jumping beans. Like she lives in my belly. And it's because I've been allowing Like that's where you store it. If you look at a lot of pranayama practices, it always comes from the breath because that is your inner will, but then also the movement of the navel allows the Kundalini energy to rise, allows Shakti, allows your life force to rise. And so when I find myself doing those practices and feeling her in my belly, the expansion of my belly, it allows more prana, it allows more connection to your breath, right? Because without the breath, you're dead. And so it feels like jumping beans, and then it starts to rise in your body. And then even when I take inhales, I can feel that surge of energy and I can feel more bliss. And sometimes, like when I'm very calm, when I'm not even doing anything, I will feel like a body orgasm. I will without even touching myself physically. And it's just this bliss and it's this opportunity that is available to every single person. And you can start to feel that energy rise within you. And it's very subtle. And so that allows you to have a new sense. And when you have that new sense, it is a sixth sense. It's like you're tapping into these realms that not many people understand, that's beyond what on the day to day of someone in front of you. It's like you're able to understand their feelings, you're able to understand how they're thinking, and you're able to have the foresight to understand and connect to things that you just all of a sudden know. And did I think that, oh no, something happened to my camera. I was like, oh no. So I had to pause. Anyway, but there's something that happens to you when you have that ability to have that foresight. And I truly attribute it to working with Shakti and working with my Kundalini energy that has allowed me to just be better human being. And I cannot explain it to you. And it's actually allowed me to be a better worker. And that is surprising because I never thought that I would want to get back into the corporate world. But if anything, I have the ability to be patient. I have the ability to see things before. It's like I always used to think, oh, I want a mentor to teach me about politics. I'm able to read rooms in a different, deeper way that I didn't think that I could connect to. And so I'm able to understand the nuances of people and why their roles are certain roles or what their blocks are without them even talking to me, just because I understand I have conversations with them without necessarily probing. And so I am able to read between the lines. And that's because of working with Shakti and being able to connect to these subtle realms. And so that's the beauty, is that when you're able to master that within yourself, you're able to see it in other people. And that becomes this sort of like this superhero cape that you have that other people don't have access to. It's having your own internal chat GPT infinity version, but you're connected to the highest, purest energy and expression of like life force. And you can't get that from like actual tech. It's like tech mimics all the things that we think about. Like you get new downloads, it's pure, it's connected to higher consciousness on a vertical plane versus a horizontal plane of when you're tied in tentacles and like being an octopus to other people's energy and karma and imprints versus you vertically connecting to that energetic source. And so when I do a practice every single morning to clear out my subconscious garbage, to circulate and sublimate and move that energy, I am coming in with very pure energy that's very clear so I can understand what I need to do to operate in the world. And when I think being on the path of being a tantrika and connecting to Shakti, connecting and worshiping Kundalini, I want to be in the world. I'm not trying to run away and disassociate from anything anymore. And it just becomes a way of life. Like my virtues are different. And it's because I've learned discipline. I've learned what it means to connect to my word. And if I'm not going to, and it's like all these things that corporate wants in a worker, which is so funny. They say high performers, engagement, and ownership of things. And it's just like, wanting to show up and be there and have this sense of pride in the things that they're doing. And you cannot force people those types of to have those types of values or tenets in their life or to live by them you can't throw a certain amount of money to make them feel that way. And it's so interesting because I was telling my partner, I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. It's I care about certain things. And it's not because I'm trying to get a promotion or not trying to make this contract like full time. Like, granted, those are things that are those things that I want and desire, but it's about how I want to live my life truthfully to me, and how do I want to show up in my life, because I think that that's just like that's spirituality. Like, everything that I do from the moment that I wake up to whatever I'm doing on this earth, it's like I want to do it wholeheartedly, and it's because I'm living my life in service and like connection to source, to spirit. And so it's like I did not think that tantra would make me a better employee, colleague, whatever, friend, like daughter, but it just does. It just does. And so that was one of the many gifts that I would say that has been surprising. And it's something that I absolutely love. It's something that I see the benefits from on a mental level. It's something that I see the benefits from a physical level. And yes, okay. So I'm gonna stop on that. But I feel like I can just go on and talk about all about the benefits of working with Shakti. And that's why I have such a desire and passion to teach feminine embodiment practices with Kundalini yoga, with Taoist practices and tantric feminine practices. And so that's like the focus of my business going forward, because you can apply it in so many areas of your life. And it's something that can help you in so many different ways, especially if you're tired of all those mental masculine practices. And then lastly, it's like the health aspect. So acupuncture, this collagen powder from Root and Bones. I kid you not, I'm getting like so many compliments on how my skin is like glowing and soft. It's amazing. And I was like, holy shit. Like, the only thing that changed in my skincare was actually consuming that collagen powder. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I love that. And then also Chinese herbs and teas, and yeah, so it's just like living a very holistic life. But anyways, that's an update from me. Those are all the different types of things that keep me young, being sober, having a happy, healthy home life, relationships, and working with my Kundalini energy, working with Shakti, connecting to my life force, and just being on this tantric path. And feminine embodiment. So it's so beautiful to connect with you all. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. I love just driving, talking about all this stuff, and just sharing all these different practices, these spiritual practices of what does it look like to integrate in this modern day world. So, yeah, that's me, Lisa, modern day tantrika, always exploring more different practices. I am not an expert by any means, but it's just me sharing my experiences and I guess the testimonials from the things that I'm learning. So, anyways, if you want to learn more, I offer one-on-one coaching, also doing group. But anyways, let's stay connected as I start to share more of this work. Would love to help you on your journey of working with Shakti and how to expand your mindset and connect to the truest and deepest you with radiance and your true voice and your pleasure and your feminine power. All these beautiful things. Anyways, have a beautiful day. Catch you on the next episode. Satnam.